Joining us now, Stephen Enada. And Stephen grew up in Lagos, Nigeria. He has witnessed the violence from Boko Haram firsthand. And right now, what is going on in Nigeria, you got extreme terrorist groups tied to the Islamic State and Al-Qaeda, such as Boko Haram and the Fulani militants. Nigeria is ranked third in the 2019 Global Terrorism Index of countries most impacted by terrorism. And joining us now to talk about it is Stephen Enada. Stephen, great to have you with us, man.
Thank you, Fredericks, for having me on your show this morning.
I really want to bring light, Stephen, to what is going on in Nigeria right now with this constant terrorism. If you could share some of the details with our listeners.
Thank you. Nigeria, as it stands today, is home to two deadliest terrorist groups in the world, which are Boko Haram and Fulani militants. Boko Haram actually in the last 10 years have killed over 60,000 people, while Fulani militants in the last 3 years have killed over 6,000 people. In our Silent Slaughter Nigeria.com on incidents tracker, this week alone, Fulani militant has killed 8 people in Nigeria. So when you look at this trend of killings, everybody, because of COVID-19, which is killing people, which is unfortunate, but Boko Haram and Fulani militants are killing people every day in Nigeria and the Lake Chad region, which is Chad, Niger, and Cameroon inclusive. Now, in this trajectory, you understand that United States Commission for International Religious Freedom designated Nigeria recently as country of particular concern when it comes to religious freedom. And also, the U.S. State Department has placed Nigeria on a global watch list of religious persecution. So these are issues confronting Nigeria when it comes to genocide is taking place in Nigeria. Boko Haram has committed genocide in Nigeria, while Fulani militant activities are genocidal. These are two intractable terrorist operations in Nigeria and the Lake Chad region that has gone unreported, or many accounts have been minimized, and the world doesn't really hear much about what is going on in Nigeria.
We're with Stephen Enada, and Stephen is a representative of the International Committee on Nigeria, and one of their missions is to bring attention in the world to the genocide that is going on right now in Nigeria. And their goal here is to get the Trump administration to put together a special envoy from the U.S. to look at this that they don't feel is happening now. When you talk about genocide, Stephen, give us some of the details, because that word to Americans, they hear the word genocide, right? And you think about ethnic cleansing and things like that. But how does that relate to, tell us specifically what is going on in Nigeria as it relates to what you call genocide?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Fredericks. If you look at what happened in the Middle East to Yazidis and other minority groups in the Middle East, ISIS killed less than Boko Haram killed. So now, if you look at what has happened, especially in Borno State in Nigeria, which is the epicenter of these terrorist activities, you understand that over 27 villages have been sacked, and over 3 million Nigerians are dispersed, living in refugee camps. So with that, we can't explain away the atrocities being committed in Nigeria by Boko Haram to mean ethnic cleansing. It is not ethnic cleansing. It is actually declaration of caliphate, Islamic caliphate in Nigeria, and they are doing this with impunity. They are doing it with impunity, killing and even taking hostages. So in comparison, it's not we are not using the word genocide lightly. We are using the word genocide because every aspect of genocide convention has been met in this region, which is Nigeria and the Lake Chad region. And that was the reason why we are talking about the existential threat this poses to Africa and Europe and even the United States of America, because whether we like it or not, Nigeria with over 200 million people, the way it is going, every signal shows that Nigeria can implode because of this crisis. And when Nigeria implodes, we can't underestimate the havoc this will have, the impact this will have in Africa and Europe.
So, just to give some perspective here, in 2018, President Trump asked the Nigerian president, Muhammadu Buhari, to protect Nigeria's Christians. And then, since he asked that statement resulted in a pretty significant downturn in the killing of Christians. And now what you're saying is you want a special envoy in the Trump administration appointed specifically to look into the situation in Nigeria as it relates to these terrorist groups, right?
Yes. Thank you for your question. President Trump, one of his foreign policy that resonates with everybody globally is the religious freedom aspect, which his Secretary of State Pompeo is doing well with. Now we are asking for a presidential envoy. That means somebody in the person of what actually happened when President Bush appointed John Danforth to Sudan. So we want a presidential envoy, somebody who has the requisite authority of U.S. president, who will be able to administer and see exactly who are killing who, using deploying U.S. intel and working with other allies in this region to understand why genocide is happening and how can this be stopped. So President Trump's statement in 2018 went a long way by lulling this crazy killing in Nigeria when he mentioned that to President Buhari in Rose Garden at the White House. So now we look at it that if President Trump speaks, the world listen, and also lives will be saved. So with this, we are saying this has implication even to the United States, because terrorism has been defeated in the Middle East, and now they are regrouping in this uncharted, ungoverned territory we call Nigeria and the Lake Chad region. So it is also the best in U.S. interest to make sure this terrorism is defeated in this region. And that is the reason why we are calling for a U.S. presidential envoy to Nigeria and the Lake Chad region.
Well, listen, Stephen, I appreciate you being on and bringing attention to this. We are going to try to forward this information to the White House, because with a number of deaths and the situation in Nigeria, really, especially now with the COVID-19, it's a terrible thing. We really feel bad for what you guys are going through, the deaths, and we pray for it, but we're going to have action, and that action is going to have to come from the United States. Stephen, thanks for being with us.
Thank you so much.